Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. Yes, this is the turret from our Panther build for the Bovington Tank Museum, and yeah, it's mainly because I didn't want to get the whole thing under the camera because it's all in pieces. So yeah, this is continuing from what we did before. So last time we kind of built the thing, and this time we're going to put some paint on it. So let's get on with it. So yes, as you can see, I've given it a coat of grey primer. I've filled a few holes here and there and bits and pieces. But I'm actually not going to start with the hull or the turret. I'm actually going to start with the wheels. And there's a reason for this. One of the things that I've noticed when I've been like dry fitting it together is that when you put the upper and lower hull sections together, there's a big gap at the front that I'm going to need to fill. Now obviously the ideal thing would be to put the hull together, fill it, paint it, and then put the wheels on. But the trouble is, I don't think the wheels will actually fit while the hull is in one piece. I think you need to put the wheels on and then put the hull together. That certainly seems to be what it looks like to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the wheels first, and I'm going to paint the lower hull, and then I'll basically mask these off, put the upper hull on, fill that gap at the front, and then paint the top of it. That's kind of how I'm planning to proceed. Now obviously here are some of the wheels, and then there are these wheels and these wheels and these wheels and these wheels. So there's quite a lot of wheels. And yeah, now one of the things that I've heard a lot from people who build armor and stuff, and it's something I see a lot on modeling forums and stuff, and I don't build a lot of armor, is the problem of doing the wheels. But what I want to try and do is show you a little trick that I have shown you before, but it's going to be pretty much perfect for this kind of application. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to paint the tyres with this XF85 rubber black. So we'll do that first, and then I'll show you a little trick. Right, so now we've got all our tyres painted black, we need to paint the rest of the wheel. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'll show you. To start with, we're going to be using this XF60 dark yellow as our kind of base colour. So we've got our wheel, we've got the tyre painted. What we're going to use is this. Now this is a circle template. They're used by, you know, artists and whoever else to draw circles. But what we can do is find the appropriate hole, which in this case is 21mm, and you can see that wheel fits perfectly in that hole, like that. And so now we can take our airbrush and we can and there we go, one perfectly painted wheel. And we'll let this side dry, then we just flip it round and do the back side. So there you go. I'll show you again quickly with another one. So we take our wheel, we drop it in the hole like that, and we spray like that. You see? So what I'll do is I'll paint the rest of these wheels. One thing to note, there are, I think, 2 wheels on this particular model. I think it's these ones. Is it those ones? Yeah, these ones are actually slightly bigger. So we'll use the 22mm hole for that, if I can get it under the camera. So we'll use a slightly different one for that, but it's basically the same principle. So I'll go and do all these wheels, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. Right, so here we are with our wheels all done, both sides. And I think you'll agree that that circle template does a marvellous job. No masking required. There's a touch of overspray here and there, but that's okay because it kind of, you know, it wouldn't be a perfect paint job anyway. So, but yes, circle templates. If you don't have one, go and get one. There is a link in the description, I think, actually, to one if you want to get one. But you can get them pretty much anywhere. But this one is a particularly good one because it goes up to like 36mm. So yeah, it's well worth investing in one of these if you don't have one, especially if you do a lot of armour. So anyway, there you go. So next I need to think about painting the camouflage. But I think I'm going to give the hull and everything a coat of this as well. But I'll just do that off camera because it's literally just painting one colour, and then we'll start thinking about putting the camouflage on it. Right, so I'm going to start painting the green on the wheels now. I'm using this XF62 olive drab, which is the colour it calls for in the plans. Apparently they use the same colour as the Americans, so there you go. And I've tried a couple of samples, and I've used these wheels, like the inner road wheels, because this side faces in towards the hull, so you'll never see it. But what I did is, when I masked it up, and I must admit I don't really like that. It's a bit too sharp. And this one I just did freehand with the airbrush. And I think I'm going to go with this one. I think that's going to work better. So I'll show you what I did. But it's just a case of taking one of the wheels, popping it in the back into the circle template, and then just doing that effectively. I think that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'll do all of the green on the wheels, and then we'll come back and do the brown. So I won't make you sit and watch me do all that because it's it's going to take a long time. But yeah, so I'll get on and do this, and then we'll come back afterwards and see what it looks like. Right, so I've done all of these wheels with the olive drab now. So see, I just did a variety of, you know, sort of random patterns on them, and now I'm going to do the same thing again, but with the XF64 red brown. So that's next. Oh, well, after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, here are a selection of the wheels. I think they've come out really well. I'm very pleased with those. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do next, before I start putting all this together, is I'm going to do some initial weathering on the chassis and the wheels. So I think what I'll do is I'll varnish all of these and do a few bits to them before I put them on, and do the same with the chassis. So yeah, we'll do that next. Right, so I've given the wheels and the chassis a quick coat of Humbrol clear gloss, and now I'm going to use this dark brown panel line. I was, see the thing is I'm not really an armour builder, and I'm kind of wondering whether I should do like stone chipping and that on the wheels first, but I think I'm gonna do it in multiple layers anyway, so I'm gonna put this on first, and then I'll kind of see where we go from there. So let's get some of this on there. Oh, if I get the lid off. So like I say, our armour really isn't my thing, but we'll see how we get on. So I like the way that picks out all of the rivets and wheel nuts and all the rest of it. So okay, so that'll do for that. I'll do the rest of the wheels in a minute. But what I wanted to do, and this is going to be fun getting this under the camera, is I wanted to do some on the chassis as well, lower hull, whatever you call it. So like all around these bits. But what I'm also going to do, as well as going over all of this stuff, is I'm going to put some just kind of randomly along, you know, on the rest of it, because I want to use it for streaking later. And I'll show you what I mean when I get to do it. But it's one of the great things about these sort of panel line colours is you can, because they're enamel, you can use them to do like good streaking effects. So I'll just go. To be honest, I think 90% of this you won't even be able to see once the wheels are on, so I'm not going to go mad with it, but we'll give it a little bit just to kind of liven it up a bit. So I'll do the same on the other side as well, and then I'll do all the rest of the wheels, and then we'll let it dry, and then we'll do a bit more. So this has had a chance to set up a bit now, and I'm just going to show you roughly what I was talking about with the streaking. We're going to do more of it later, but I'll just give you a rough idea first. This is Humbrol enamel thinner that I'm going to use, and the only reason I'm using this particular one is because it's quite a handy little bottle. But you know, you can use any enamel thinner. So I say this one happens to come in quite a handy little bottle. So what we're going to do is, and you can use pretty much any brush you want, but I've got a couple of brushes here. I've got this this fan. This came out of a Boldmere set, and this is a pointed brush. This is one of the Humbrol ones from the starter kits, so they're quite handy for this sort of thing. But just get some thinner on the brush, wipe most of it off so the brush is just damp, and then basically just streak it. Oh, and then that falls off. Well, we'll get that out of the way anyway. You can probably see what I'm doing better. I say you can do big areas with this brush, but what you can also do is use a thinner brush, or you know, any brush you want. You can use a flat brush, whatever you like, and just create streaks like this. You see? And you can go up, down, but basically just remove the excess wash, and then just create whatever streaks you want, like that. So I'll work on this a bit more and then I'll show you what it looks like. Right, there we go. I don't know whether you can see that under the camera, but that's the lower hull. You might be able to see it a bit better on this side. But like I said, a lot of this you won't be able to see, so it's really just to provide a basis for the rest of the weathering. But let me just show you what I'm going to do with the wheels. So again, I'm not sure how well this will show up because it is quite a kind of subtle effect. But basically with the wheels, what you want to do is start from the middle and just work out in a radial pattern, because if you just go all like one way, obviously the wheels turn and they don't always stop in the same place. So what you'll find with any kind of streaking or whatnot on wheels is it will tend to go out radially from the middle to the outside. So when you're cleaning up the wheels, it's best to do it this way. And this gives you a nice bit of like radial streaking all around the wheel, and makes it look a lot more realistic. And again, we'll do more of this with different effects as we go on, but this is just like the start of it. So like that. So I don't know whether you'll be able to see that on the camera, but let me try and let me do another one and see if it looks any better. Let's try one of these wheels. It might show up a bit better. So I say, it's just one of these things that I can see it, but I just don't know if the camera's picking it up or not. But it's the same thing. It's just start from the middle and then just go out in a radial pattern towards the edge of the wheel. And just keep going over it until you get the effect that you want. It will look different when it's dry. That's the trouble, is because it's still damp. Let me just dry one off. Right, I don't know if that's any better. It's like, it's just, unfortunately, it's a very difficult effect to show on camera. So, but yeah, like I said, it's just a question of the main thing is the technique. So, you know, I say start from the middle and work your way out in a radial pattern towards the edge of the wheel, and just keep at it until you get the effect that you want. So I'll do the rest of them and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Actually, I've just had a thought. One of these wheels might work better. Let's see if I can do it on one of these. Oh, I think that's, there you go, that's showing up better. These ones aren't as easy to do because of the fact they're on this stick, but like that, you see. Hopefully you can see that. To be honest, the gloss varnish doesn't help under the camera, but there you go. But as I say, I'll do the rest of the wheels, and then once they're all dried off, I'll show you what it looks like. Right, so those are our wheels done. Those are the inner road wheels. Obviously the outer road wheels and everything are done as well. It is, as I mentioned, a very subtle effect, but I like to do it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to seal them with this Vallejo matte varnish, and then we'll put some other effects on them. So I want to get the bottom half of this done before I put the top half on, as I mentioned before. So this is next. Right, now that varnish is dry, I'm going to put some of this on. This is like a weathering powder, pigment, you know. You can buy these, obviously, there's all kinds of different ones, but you can make your own, and that's what I did with this one. I'll show you how I did it quickly. Basically, if you get something like this, these are soft pastels. These ones happen to come from Hobbycraft, part of their value range. And if I just get them out of the box... So this is a fairly limited set, but it's got some good colours in it. So things like black, brown, you know, various earth tones and whatnot. And you can use these to make your own. So I'm going to use this one, I think, because that's quite a sort of sandy, dusty colour, which is what I want. And all you do is you take... There's a number of ways to do this, but the simplest way is you just take the knife and just scrape it down the side of the pastel like that, you see. I actually did a video on this a little while ago, so I'll put a link to that. But yeah, basically just do that. If you just want a little bit, do that. If you want a lot, what you can do as well is get yourself one of these. This is a tea strainer. And what you do, it's actually quite clever. Just open it up. You can buy these in like the pound shop and supermarkets and stuff like that. But basically, just put that in the pot like that. And these pots are like the condiment pots you get from takeaways and whatnot. But if you just put that in there and do that, then it basically just grates the pastel into a powder. Like that, you see. Now this is obviously a slightly different colour to what was already in there, but that's alright because we can just mix it up and it'll be fine. I mean, the other thing is just close the lid and you see. And we're going to apply that to our wheels and chassis. Right, and to apply this, what you do is just take your wheel, get a brush, and just kind of dob it into the corners, or you know, wherever you want it. Like that, you see. Now what we'll do is just get this sort of roughly how we want it. And again, I find it helps, you can see what I'm doing here, is just to go from the middle to the outside and just kind of push it into the edges. Get some on the tyre as well. And then, to fix it in place, this is the same thinner that I was using before. Because you can get like pigment fixers and that, but this works just as well. And just touch that on like that, and it will basically wick through the you can see it kind of wicking through the pigment powder, and when it dries it will stick it all in place. Now when you're putting this on, don't wipe it, just touch the brush onto it and let it do its own thing, let it settle, let it find its own path, you see. And if you want to, you know, you can always put more on afterwards. and obviously it will darken a lot when it first goes on, but when it dries it will lighten up again. You see? Like that. So I'll let this one dry and then show you what it looks like, and then I'll do the rest of them. Right, so I just hit that very briefly with the hairdryer, and you can see how it's come back to the original colour. So I'll do the chassis and the rest of the wheels, and then we'll see what it all looks like. Right, so there we go. That's the wheels all done, and the chassis as well. I'm just waiting for this side to dry fully. This side's dry. Oh, there you go. So what you got to be careful of is, even though that pigment is technically fixed in place, it will still come off really easily. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go over all of these again and give them another coat of matte varnish, just to try and seal this a bit better, because basically I just don't want this all getting knocked off. So, but yeah, we're getting there. Here are some of the inner road wheels, looking suitably grubby. And what else have we got? We've got the drive sprockets. So there's one of the drive sprockets. So, and obviously, you know, as it goes on, I can add more. So, well, like once the tracks go on and everything, I can put more on. But what I'm going to do now is let all this dry completely, and then give it another coat of the Vallejo matte varnish to seal it all together. And then I think we can put the wheels on. I just thought I'd check, and it turns out you actually can put the wheels on with the hull together, so that was a little bit of a waste of time, but not much. I did want to get all the wheels done first, because obviously they kind of stack together and it would be very difficult to paint them all and do all the weathering and everything with them on. So you know, they needed to be done separately anyway, so that's no problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the remaining axles and stuff in, which it says don't glue them in, but this is not a motorised model, so why would they not be glued in? But anyway, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to glue the hull halves together and fill in this god-awful gap at the front here, and also anything that needs doing at the back here, because there'll probably be a little bit of a gap there as well. And then once that's dry, I'll go over it with a bit more of the dark yellow, and then we can start painting the camouflage on the hull and the turret. So let me get these bits put together and filled, and then we'll go from there. Fun. So I'm just doing the front here, and I thought it was an interesting point to make here. Basically, along the front of the glacis, there's some detail there. I've covered it up now, master, but you can see some here as well, and it's basically where, when they cut the panels, like the armour plate for this, because obviously the armour plate's like 4 inches thick, so you can't just butt it together and weld it, because it won't work. So what they do is they cut almost like a dovetail in it, or well, it's like a box joint, to fit the plates together and then weld those. And I don't want to lose that detail. So what I've done is I've just put some masking tape on both sides of the joint, and now when I put the filler in, I can fill it without being too precious about it, and then when I'm done I can sand it down and then peel the masking tape off and not lose any of that detail. So I'm going to use this Tamiya putty. I like this stuff. I mean, to be honest, I've noticed with a lot of these things, they're pretty much of a muchness. It's like I've got the Revel one as well, and a few others, and they all seem to work just as well as each other. So, but this is the tube that I had to hand. So let me fill this gap. Because it is a hell of a gap, quite frankly. I'll probably have to do this in a couple of layers. I suppose what I could have done was got a bit of styrene in there first to fill the hole a bit, but it'll be fine. But you can see here, like where the tape is, you know, I can, if I get the stuff on the edge, it doesn't matter because it's going on the tape and not onto the plastic. So I'll just get this filled in. I mean, obviously I'll have to repaint it, but I was planning to do that anyway. I knew I'd have to do that, so it's not the end of the world. Because if you're like me, you probably find that once you get to a certain point, you realise there's a bit that you've forgotten to paint anyway, and you have to go back and do it anyway. So I haven't found anything that I've forgotten to paint, but I dare say there's something somewhere. Because contrary to what a lot of people would like you to believe, we all make mistakes. So, but what I'll do is I'm going to leave that to dry, and then I'm going to put another layer on the top, because I want to get, because from looking at the reference pictures, this is quite a sharp angle on the front of this, and I want to try and recreate that as much as possible. So we'll let that dry, and then I'll put another layer on, and then we can sand it. Okay, so I've put the filler on, let it dry. I've just sanded it down a bit. Let's take this off and see what it looks like. Because like I say, the main thing I wanted to do was keep this detail here, which it seems to have worked quite well. So yeah, that looks alright, doesn't it? So what I'll do now, as I said, is I'll just give it a brush off, get the dust and everything off it, and then I'll give it another quick coat of the dark yellow just to cover this up, and then we can start putting some camouflage on it, which is going to be fun. Build a tank, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Okay, now this is going to be fun. So I won't do all of this. I'll just get started to show you, because quite frankly it's really awkward doing this with the camera in front of me. So I'll just do a little bit just to give you an idea, and then I must admit, I'm thinking I might do this with the bigger airbrush, like with a 0.4mm nozzle. I think it might make things go a little bit quicker. But I say the main thing to start with is just to kind of get all the outlines done and just give me a rough idea of where I'm going, and then I can come back and fill it all in. I think the other thing I did as well, which was a bit of a rookie error, was putting all the tools and that on the side. I should have left those off really, and just put the frame on, and then like done all the camouflage and then put those bits on afterwards. But it's not the end of the world. I can come in and do those with a brush, with a, you know, like a hand brush afterwards. So, but yeah, let's see how far we can get with this. Because the other thing that's slightly awkward about doing this as well is the fact that I've got some reference pictures, but they're on my phone, and I'm using my phone to record this, so I can't record this and look at the reference pictures at the same time. So, but that gives you an idea of what I'm going to do anyway. I'd like to say I'll fill in all the like patches, and then, you know, go from there. So I will go and paint this, and I'll bring it back afterwards and show you what it looks like. Right, well, there we go. That's the green done. It's not fantastic, but it's I think it's passable for a first attempt. So yeah, it's not too bad. And there's the turret. So the next step is to basically do the same again, but with the XF64, the red brown. So basically I'll do exactly the same thing again, and then we'll see what it looks like. Right, well, there we go. That's not bad, is it? It's not brilliant, but it's not terrible. I did a bit of a cop out, and I did actually avoid the the tool racks, but yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. So next thing we can do is seal this and then start on the weathering. So that's next. So I just had a thought, actually. I was saying about putting varnishes and things on the tank. I've still got a ton of other stuff to do yet. I think actually now would be a good time to do the spare track links, the jack, the tow cables, and all that kind of bits and pieces as well. And also we've still got the tools on the tank to paint as well. So let's sort some of this stuff out. Because I want to paint these obviously before they go on. So, but this is probably going to take quite a lot of cleaning up. But I'll do the jack. I want to put these spare track links together and have a look at the tow cable. These tow. So let me. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together in blocks of 3, and then stick them onto something and paint them. So let me get these cut off and stuck together, and get these other bits cleaned up, and then we'll look at painting them. So I've just basically taped a couple of coffee stirrers to this tile, just to create a bit of like a jig to put these spare track links together. And you'll probably see they're not perfectly straight, and I'm actually completely okay with that, because I want them to look like individual, separate links. So I'm going to put them together, like I said, in blocks of 3, and then once they've dried, I'll put them on the tank. Well, I'll paint them and then I'll put them on the tank. But it's just going to be easier to handle them in these blocks of 3 rather than as a series of individual links. And they've got to go together anyway, so they might as well go together now. Oh, that's just what I didn't want to happen. Although again, it actually doesn't really matter if they don't go together perfectly, as long as they're lined up like end to end. The rest of it's fine. But I'll put the rest of these together, and then we'll put some paint on them, and yeah, and then hopefully we can put them on. Okay, while those track links are drying, I'm going to start working on these tools. So I've got a variety of Citadel paints. This one is Bestial Brown. I'm going to use that to do the handles and things. So I'll do these first. Obviously I'll be a bit more careful with them than I am at the moment, but it's just so you can see what I'm doing. And I'll do the shovel head, the axe head and stuff, and I'll do those with black, and then I'll use a bit of silver and stuff to highlight them. So, but I'll get on and do all of these, and then we'll come back and see what it all looks like and put those track links on, or paint the track links and then put them on. I seem to be obsessed with putting these track links on before I've actually painted them. Let me get these done, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I've got all the tools and that on, you see, and I've put the spare track links on as well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a bit of chipping on the hull, and I'm going to use this XF9 hull red and a sponge. And what I'm going to do is get a piece of tissue paper, and it's basically like dry brushing but with a sponge. So what you do is you dip your sponge in the paint, get most of it off on the bit of tissue, like the majority of it, and then just go around likely spots where the paint would be chipped off. So certainly things like where these tracks go, and around the tool storage bins, around hatches, edges, corners, you know, that kind of thing. And as you can see, that just provides a little bit of difference, and also around things like the edges of the mud guards and all that kind of stuff, because they get like battered about in brush and whatnot. And the same with the front of the hull, because obviously that would take quite a beating, you know, going through brush and you know, buildings, frankly, you know, walls and whatnot. So, and just keep going over it until you get to the level that you want. What you can also do, and I'll do some of this in a bit, is use the use a brush and actually apply the chipping in a much more controlled fashion. So I'll do some of that as well in a minute, but just to start with, I'm just going to do it like this. But the trick is, don't go mad with it, because you can always put more on, but it's a bugger to get it back off again, because basically it means having to go back over it. And but like I say, round hatches and stuff like that, where it would get scuffed as people were getting in and out and all that kind of thing. But this is a good way of just sort of covering areas sort of fairly quickly. But you don't have a huge amount of control. That's the one issue with doing it like this, is you don't have a massive amount of control. Whereas if you do it with a brush, you've got much more control over where the chips go. So, and again, round sort of edges like this, anywhere that's going to get a lot of you know, abuse, basically, which obviously with this being a tank, it's going to get a lot, because it's not like it's going to get repainted every 5 minutes. So I'll get on and do the rest of this with the brush, with the sponge, and then when I switch to the brush, I'll come back and I'll show you exactly what I mean with that. Okay, so I have done sort of various bits on the hull. As you can see, I've done the turret as well, and I'm going to do some more chipping now on various sort of specific areas, especially on the engine deck. So I use a brush for that. And my daughter's here as well. Say hello, Katie.
Hello, Katie.
Always the comedian. We've just been talking about why tanks get dirty, haven't we? So, but yeah, this is just a case of just being a lot more precise with the chips, getting them into the edges of the hatches and whatnot. Because obviously with the trouble is with the sponge is it's a bit kind of slapdash, and you can't really control, you don't have that much control over where it goes, whereas with this you can be a lot more precise with where you have your chips go. And if you want to be really clever, you can actually do like two-tone chips. So you do a lighter shade first to make it look like primer, and then go back in with the darker brown like this, and that looks absolutely amazing. But quite frankly, I have neither the time nor patience for that on this particular build, but we'll do it at some point. So, but it's when you're doing this, it's just a case of thinking about where most of the scratches and whatnot would be. So it's things like areas where people will be climbing up and down off of the vehicle, getting up and down on the turret, around hatches, anything like that. Obviously on the sides and the front, because it's going through bushes and trees and houses and whatever else, so the paint's going to get quite heavily damaged on the front and the sides. So yeah, it's just a case of thinking about where this kind of damage is going to occur. So, I mean, it's like I say, you don't have to go mad with it. You can do as much or as little as you want. But I'm just going to do a little bit on here, and then I'll do some more again afterwards. Like for example, once the decals have gone on, because I want to chip those as well. But I just wanted to get the majority of it done now, really. So like that, and I'll do some around the hatches on the front as well. I've done a bit already, as you can see, but I want to do a little bit more. So again, it's just wherever there would be a lot of contact. So I'll do the rest of this, and then I'll put a coat of varnish on it to seal it, and then we can start thinking about putting some decals on, I think. So what do you think? Are you impressed?
I'm mildly content.
Yes. Yeah, I'll get the rest of this done, and then I'll put some varnish on it, and then we'll put some decals on. Right, so I am going to put the decals on now. So it actually took me a while. I couldn't find a decal like placement or anything, but it is actually here. It's on the back of the plans here, right at the back at the bottom. I mean, obviously there's only a few decals, so I'm going to do the main markings. Like, there's a unit marking. I'm assuming these are unit markings here. I don't think I'm going to put those on. I'm just going to put on the numbers and the crosses, and I'll probably put the stripes on the barrel. So I'll again, I won't make you sit through all of it. I'll do like one on the turret just to show you how it goes, and then I'll put the rest on, and then seal them up with varnish again. So because it's kind of weird, because I was looking at it and it's like these crosses, there's one on each side of the hull and then one on the back, and I was looking everywhere trying to find the fourth one, but I think they do literally just give you a spare, because it's like these ones, the big numbers, there's one on each side of the turret, and yet they give you 3 of them, and I think they are literally it's just a spare, I think, which is kind of weird, because the small number that goes on the back of the turret, they only give you 1. So, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, I'll put one of these on just to show you how it goes on, and then I'll do the rest of them off camera. And I've got a little little pot of warm water to warm it up, so let's get that in the water. Let that sit for a minute, and while that's doing that I shall apply my Mr. Mark setter to the side of the turret. Like so. Alright, let's see if this moves. Alright. And we'll put that on there, like that. Because I want to dirty these up a bit, because they're quite frankly far too bright. So I'll line it up with the bottom of the turret like that, and then get a cotton bud and get it set in place like that. Right, that went on nice and easy. That's what we like to see. And then what I'll do, because there's a texture on the plastic, I'll put some of this softener on and let it like really settle into that texture. But that's basically all there is to it. So I'll do the rest of them. I'll let them dry, and then I'll give it a coat of varnish, and then we can carry on with the weathering. Okay, so the decals are done, and I've given it another coat of varnish, as I mentioned, and let that dry. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply a wash to basically the whole vehicle, and I'm going to use this. Oh, there we go. This is AK Interactive's wash series, and the reason I'm using this one is basically because I have a lot of it. This bottle is almost full, and it's cheaper than the Tamiya panel line accent, which I would normally use for this, but I'm going to use this instead, basically because it's cheaper and I have more of it. So, and also I'm kind of curious to see how well it works, but because I don't use it very much. But let's give this a go. So I'm going to put this on fairly hefty, because this is quite kind of mucky. Yeah. Just wondered if this might be a bit much, but let's it's going to probably take quite a lot of cleaning up, because this was the thing when I bought this. It was as I say, I was looking for a cheap alternative to Tamiya's panel line, and I was told that this was what I wanted, and it's a different effect. It's a lot more kind of muddy, I suppose. So I don't know. See, this might work better for like streaking and stuff like that, but it's not really the effect that I want. But we'll see how it goes. So I think it's just probably going to take quite a lot of cleaning up. But yeah, we'll see. We'll put it on and we'll see. What could possibly go wrong? Because I do want this to look dirty. I just don't want it to look absolutely filthy. I just want it to look kind of... I want it to look more dusty than anything. That's the kind of result I'm going for. Because everybody... It seems like everyone, when they make models of tanks, they always make them all thick mud, and it's just like, not all... You know, it's not all mud and all the rest of it. You know, it's like you look at like the Italian campaigns and Africa and places like that, and the biggest thing is dust, not mud. So, but it's also the good thing about this is, oh, you probably can't say that. It'll be good for toning down these decals a bit, make them a bit less you know, bright, because they are very bright. But I'm going to put this stuff on like quite liberally, and then come back in afterwards and clean it up. So I say this is more kind of aimed at streaking rather than a wash. Actually, while I'm doing this, just quickly, I just wanted to take a moment and say a particular thank you to my top tier patrons, Amy, Neil and Howard, for their ongoing support. Thank you guys, it is very, very much appreciated. As I say, I'll get this on, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like when we streak it. Right, let's see how this goes. It's interesting the way this has dried. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it has kind of turned into like mud, which is, I like that. But anyway, what I want to do is now is try and streak it. So I've just got some cheap white spirit that came from the pound shop, and I'm just going to see how well this stuff actually streaks. Probably should use a smaller brush actually. This brush is a bit of a beast. This is the same brush I put it on with. I'm going to get a smaller brush, hang on. Oh, there's a blob there. Go away, blob. So what I want to do is just keep working it like that. Just basically, I'm hoping, because again, the trouble is with this is it looks fine to me, but it probably doesn't show up on the camera very well. Is the problem. So I just hope you can actually see how this is coming together. And I think again, the way this changed as it dried, I think it will do the same thing again. As it dries, we'll see a much more pronounced effect. So I'll carry on with the turret, and once this side's dried, we'll come back and have a look and see how well it performs. Right, well, I think that looks rather good. I'm quite pleased with that. I'll just put the turret on just to get the full effect. But yeah, I like the way that's looking. I'll tell you, when I tried this stuff before, I didn't get on with it, but I don't know what I did, like, you know, differently this time. But yeah, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it to dry for a while, because it seems to be still drying. So I'm going to leave it, and I might go back in and touch up a few bits afterwards. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But on the whole, I quite like how that looks. And yeah, once it's completely dry, I'm going to seal it with a matte varnish, and then we're going to put some more finishes on it. But I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start looking at the tracks, because that's the last big thing that we've got to do. Okay, tracks. Here are our tracks. They are rubber. They look quite nice, actually. I'm kind of not sure what to do with these, quite honestly, because I like the colour of them, but I think, like, as a base colour, but I think they need. I can't just start putting finishes onto this because it's like a rubber, and I don't think it will stick. So I need to put something on it first, just to you know, make everything else, give something else something to stick to, if that makes sense. So yeah, I might have to go and do some investigating and see what's the best way to start with these. But yes, watch this space. Oh, right. Third time's the charm. Sorry, I'm just having a few camera issues. So, as you can see, I am now putting the wheels on. Bit of a milestone. I've got the tracks in primer, so I'm waiting for those to dry. Now, what you've got to be careful of with these wheels is there's like 3 or 4 different types of wheel. And so, and they have to go into very specific places. So what I've been doing, what I did when I sorted it all out, I put them all in separate groups to keep them all, you know, separate. So now I'm just putting them on. So one of the problems that I've been finding, and I kind of figured this would happen, I was hoping it wouldn't, because these little hubs are made of some kind of rubber, they didn't actually stick to the wheels very well, and what's happened is when I've put them in, it's had a tendency to pop them out of the wheels, which, you know, it's one of those things. I'll just have to be careful with it as I'm putting the rest on. So I've got the drive sprocket on, I've got first road wheel, first pair of road wheels. And I'm going to have to take these wheels off again. Because I've got to put one of these on. Oh, God, whose idea was doing this? Oh, wow, this is going to be a struggle. Right. Let's try this again for the 4th time. So, right, we need to put these on first. Like that. Now, I did think about doing one side and then like just coming back and going ta-da and showing you what I'd done, but I thought this is, you know, warts and all, you know. So, okay, so those ones go on. Then we need to put these ones on, and they go on there like that. Oh, God, these rubber caps are a bloody nuisance. Right, that goes on like that. Then we want another one of those here. It would be so much easier to just glue these wheels on, but of course, because it's a kind of half motorized kit, they don't want you doing that. But still, right, and then we want another one of those there. Wait, hang on. Oh no, we're right, we're right. Yeah, that goes on there. That goes on like that. Oh. Okay, now we can put these ones on. And I've knocked a bit of paint off of this one, but I'll touch that up again in a minute, it's fine. So that goes on there. That wheel then needs to go on there. And that needs to go like that. And then we need to get this wheel up to there. And it goes like that. Right, now we're getting somewhere. And then I need to glue the rear road wheel to the outer road wheel. So, in fact, I'm going to put them all on first. And then I'll glue them so that I know that in case I have to take it apart again. Oh, God. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to just get a little bit of sandpaper and just get this paint off of this spindle. It's kind of funny actually doing this because someone suggested to me that I should do like an outtakes video, and it's like I said, I put the outtakes in it. I leave everything in. So yeah, right, that goes like that, like that. Oh, get in there. Right, there we go. That's one side. So I'll just get all these fitted properly and glue them up, and I won't make you sit through the other side. I'll put the other side on, and I think by then we'll be in a position to paint the tracks. So we're getting there, not far now. Oh. Well, after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, all the wheels are on. So the next thing to do is finish the tracks and put those on, and then after that we'll do some final weathering, and I think we'll be done with it. So yeah, let's move on and get the tracks painted. Right, finally, tracks. So I've given the tracks a coat of black primer out of a rattle can, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give them a colour coat, which is a mix of I got this from Andy's Hobby Headquarters, so it's half XF69 NATO black, then it's about 40% XF68 NATO brown, and then a splosh of XF7 flat red. So I'm going to give this a go and see how well it works. I quite like that. Oh, doesn't look too bad, does it? Right, let's do a bit on the other side as well, so you can see that. So you don't have to go mad with it because you want the black to show through. But yeah, that looks okay. So what I'll do is I'll paint the rest of the tracks with this, and then we'll move on and add some other effects. Right, so now this has had a chance to dry, what I'm going to do, and this is where I'm going to deviate from Andy's plan, as it were. What I've got here is a graphite pencil. This one came from Hobbycraft. It's part of their value range. You can buy a whole pack of them for a couple of quid. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the inside. I'll do the outside as well, but not yet. But basically what you do is just go over where the road wheels would go with the pencil, and you can see, or hopefully you can see, it leaves a nice shiny strip where the road wheels have been going and rubbing on the edge of the track, you see. And then, so it looks like polished metal. And we'll do in between as well, because obviously there's a road wheel that goes in there, and we'll do the other side as well. So I'll go along both tracks all the way from one end to the other, only on the inside for now, and then I'm going to put some other bits and pieces on it, but this is what I'm going to do now. So now I've just flipped the track over, and what I've got here are 3 sets of pigment powders that I've made up. So it was the same setup as before, just using a pastel and grinding it into powder. So what I've got is the normal one that I was using before. I've got a darker earth one, and also this bright orange one, which is quite good for rust. So I'm going to start with a little bit of this one, and I'm not going to go mad with this one, and go in between the tracks like that, and then I'll basically build up the other 2 over the top. So this is quite time consuming, but it is worth it. So I shall get on and do the orange first. What I'll do, actually thinking about it, it's probably better, is I'll just show you like this first section, and then you know, just do them one after the other, and then I'll go and do the rest of them sort of properly. So like I say, you don't need to be too precious with it, just you know, put some on. This is basically just to simulate rust, because steel tracks go rusty. It's a simple fact of life that metal rusts. So Then we can have a bit of this one as well. This is just for a bit of variety more than anything. And just put some of that on. And again, you don't need to be precious with it or anything. Just put it on. And then we'll go for this one, which is obviously our sort of main dust effect, if you like. And again, this is one of these things you can put on as much or as little as this as you want, depending on the effect that you want. Obviously, if you're making your tank muddy, what you can do is mix this with a bit of like white spirit or something, and put it on as a paste, and do it that way. So, but there you go. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of both tracks. And then we can think about putting them on, because I don't want to go too mad with this, because obviously most of the weathering of these tracks will be done once the tank is in situ on the diorama, so that we can match, you know, the ground to the tank, if you see what I mean. But yeah, I'll get on and do the rest of this, and then we'll see what it looks like. So the tracks are done for now. The next fun bit is going to be putting them on. And I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, whether to put them on like an actual track and like lay them on the wheels and then, you know, run the track onto it, run the vehicle onto it, or whether to just treat it like the big rubber band it is and just join the two ends and then just like bend it on. I think that's probably going to be the easiest way, to be honest. For those of you who have never changed a track, for real, it's not fun. Basically, what you would normally do if you wanted to change a track is you would lay out the new track in front of the vehicle, and then you knock the track pin out of the front, or at the opposite end to wherever the drive sprocket is, and then basically lay the old track down, connect it to the new track, and then use the old track to pull the vehicle forwards onto the new track, then disconnect the old track and connect up the new, knock the track pin back in, and you're done. Which makes it sound way easier than it actually is. Any cavalryman out there will tell you that changing tracks is not fun, and it always starts raining the second you do it. But anyway, so yeah, I think we'll try it this way and see what happens. So basically we've got to get those pins into, oh, this is going to be fun. Right, 1, 2, 3, and of course the last one won't go in because, oh, there we go. No, because now that one's not in. Oh. Now what it says to do in the instructions is get a hot screwdriver and melt the ends of that, which, let's see if that works. I do have a nasty old screwdriver here. I have a lighter to hand. I don't know if that'll get it hot enough, but let's try it and see. To be honest, you could probably just stick this with super glue. If this doesn't get it hot enough, I'll get a blowtorch. Oh no, that's alright. Right, that worked. Now let's see if we can get this on. It'll be fine, what could possibly go wrong? So I think the easiest thing to do is if we get this end on first, get it over the drive sprocket. Over the drive sprocket, I said. Oh, Go on, engage with those. Oh, we're nearly there. This is one of those things you need about sort of 12 hands to do it. That road wheel. Like that. Get it under that road wheel. Like that. Now I've got to get this over the idler. So one good thing about the wheels turning is that I can do this and hopefully get that to... Oh, go on, over you go. It's... Right, I think that's it, isn't it? Although it doesn't seem to be engaging on the drive sprocket very well. Right, well... Right. What was hard about that? Right, I'll put the other one on and then we'll do a final bit of weathering and then I think we'll be done. Right, well the second track went on way easier than the first one did. I think it was just a case of, because I knew how to do it, it, you know, obviously went that much smoother. So what I want to do now is I've got me weathering powder back and I just want to put a little bit on in various strategic spots. Just to kind of tie everything together. So I just want to get the thing looking a bit like dusty. So just sort of like that, you see, not massive amounts, but just enough to get it looking a little bit dusty, just to kind of tie everything together. So a lot of this will get knocked off. And deliberately so, but it's really just to, like I say, just to tie everything together and just get the whole thing a bit more kind of unified. So what I'll do is I'll go around and do the rest of this. And then I'll put some a final coat of matte varnish just to seal everything, and then I think we can wrap this up. Right, now there is one final step, which you're probably thinking, what are you going to do now you've put all the varnish and everything on? Well, it's going back to our graphite pencil, and what I want to do is just on the tracks here, on this, the raised part of the track, is just go over it with the graphite pencil like that, and what that will do is give it a nice metallic shine. Now you can go all the way around the track if you want to, but you don't really need to. You only need to do the bits that are the most visible. So just like that, you see. And then if we compare the two sides, you can see this side catches the light and this side doesn't. So it just gives it that little like metallic sheen. So I'll do the rest of those and then we really can wrap this up. Yay. And here is our finished article. Well, finished for now anyway. Obviously we've got to do the crew and the diorama, so those will be coming up in future videos. But for now, the tank itself is pretty much done. Apart from the glaring omission of the tow cables, which I forgot to put on, which I will put on between now and the next video. But yeah, I'm actually, I know I always say this, but I am very pleased with how this came out. It's this is actually the first large-scale tank I've ever built. So I'm very pleased with the result. I mean, I could have sort of gone a bit more of an easy route and just done it a single colour, but I thought it would, you know, I think it looks better in the camouflage, and I think the overall result is pretty much what I was hoping for. So yeah, So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you wish, you are quite free to come and join us in the staff canteen on Facebook. And if you're feeling flush, then maybe you might consider supporting me on Patreon. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Do give some love to the Tank Museum as well if you get the opportunity. And I'll see you on the next video. Cheers. Bye.